The great and powerful Trixie. Somebody mentioned she had a fan following, and I completely forgot about her, and so yeah, now, almost exactly 2 seasons later, like within 1 episode of 2 seasons on the dot, yeah, it's reunion party I didn't get the invitation to, so... Okay, yeah, this is the episode. The great and powerful Trixie has come back. She, in the first little intro portion, she finds something called the Alicorn Amulet, this powerful amulet of dark magic that makes her more powerful than ever. So she comes back into Ponyville. She starts terrorizing the town, looking for revenge after Twilight Sparkle showed her up last time, because it turns out she wasn't just able to brush that off like it seemed she would. She just covered for herself like, well, you will still never have the show-stopping abilities of the great and powerful Trixie, and she did a smoke screen and ran away, but no, she couldn't cover for it after all. She was embarrassed, nobody wanted to see her shows, so now she's back for revenge on Twilight Sparkle, and she just starts beating on the friends right away. The usual, last time she turned Rarity's hair green, now she puts her in a dress she doesn't like, and that's all it takes to defeat Rarity, don't you know? But, okay, so, whatever, turns Spike into a basketball, starts throwing him through makeshift basketball hoops, takes away Pinkie Pie's mouth, until Twilight finally agrees to take a bet that she can out-duel Trixie, where, and the loser has to leave Ponyville, and why Twilight can't just start fighting her and say, I'm not taking a bet, but I am gonna knock you out, come here. But I have no idea why she can't just do that, but okay, they start dueling instead, and I think Trixie actually says, it's time to duel, so Yu-Gi-Oh fans must be squealing at that one, but okay, I'm not sure if that was an intentional Easter egg, the show throws in a few, but regardless, they start shooting things at each other, or what Trixie tries to wreak havoc. She's on the offensive most of the time, trying to throw stuff at ponies that Twilight catches, throwing apple pies, where Twilight counters by summoning a Parasprite, return of those two, and they eat all the pies Trixie's throwing at her, which, that's the second time I think in the show throwing pies is a legitimate attack. That's legitimate assault now. But okay, so it ends though, Trixie calls back Snips and Snails. Now that Trixie's back, they have an excuse to put those two on screen again, which I don't know why the show likes them so much, but mystery. If they are just good for getting the job done when they're needed for whatever reason. But okay, so Trixie summons them. She turns them old and young, which only the highest level unicorns are supposed to be able to do. She challenges Twilight then to try to do the same, and Twilight cannot. And of course, since that does not disable or overpower Twilight in any way, it means Trixie is won right there. So she declares herself the winner. She throws Twilight out of Ponyville, and then she summons a giant glass dome force field thing to descend over the town and lock out Twilight. And then while Twilight is banished to the Everfree Forest, Trixie puts her friends to work and everyone else in the town, turning them into her jesters and her massage therapists. Well, actually, she has Applejack giving her an applesauce facial, preparing applesauce for her facial. Never heard of that before, applesauce facial, but I'm sure it's a thing. But anyway, so Twilight then decides to go ask for help from Zecora, who, even though she's a zebra, she knows about potion making and stuff. I guess she also knows about magic too, but Zecora promises when she hears of Twilight's troubles that she can train Twilight to be better than Zecora. So while Twilight's doing these Star Wars-esque exercises there, which I think that's what they were going for there, and Zecora is kind of being Yoda in this time around. But okay. Meanwhile, though, the friends, they've noticed that Trixie is not just her usual arrogant self. She's a lot meaner and nastier this time, and also more powerful. But they don't know, what the deal is. They're trying to find the explanation, so they scour Twilight's library with Spike, and they find the answer to their problems, that she has the Alicorn Amulet. One of their books tells them about that, one of Twilight's books, excuse me. So it increases her power, but it also corrupts her, and she's the only one who can take it off. So by sneaking Fluttershy out of Ponyville, involving a little trick with these beavers carrying a log that Fluttershy is hiding in. They get the news to Twilight, and then Twilight, when she puts this together, decides to forget about Zeccora's subplot and instead defeat Trixie by telling her she has an even more powerful amulet, and instead, using just one line of Zeccora's for payoff instead to that whole subplot that she has to use the 6, because what she's come up with is, after baiting Trixie into another duel, she's going to use her magic to perform like actual illusion magic tricks by dressing up everyone's little sisters and Granny Smith grandparents to look like them, except older and younger, so she can just exchange them with one another, and which, I don't know, anyone's never thought to do that before. Just no one's ever thought to show off, hey, I can do high level magic, what? But yeah, regardless, Twilight gets a rematch with Trixie. She swaps everyone around, so it looks like she's made Applejack and Rarity, who have Apple Bloom, Sweetie Belle, and Granny Smith, to pretend to be them, except older and younger. She swaps them around and makes it look like she's pulled the trick off, and then she also turns Applejack into Big Macintosh, painted to look like Applejack, so I can turn a mare into a stallion, and vice versa. But and also cloning Rainbow Dash. And love this one. Pinkie Pie can still play 10 instruments, even though she doesn't have her mouth anymore. Trixie, if I didn't mention that, pulled that off with a mouse cursor. So, okay, so anyway, Trixie is so impressed that she decides to just steal the amulet from Twilight. She takes off hers, puts on Twilight's, and of course Twilight's is just a door stopper on a golden chain, whatever that was. And then, so Rainbow Dash takes the cue when Trixie takes off the amulet. Rainbow Dash swipes it. Trixie doesn't have the power to stop her anymore, so they just lock it up in a box, give it to Zeccora to take back, and Trixie just sort of slinks away. But then, when the show for Princess Celestia I mentioned happens, Trixie decides to redeem herself by showing up and accenting Twilight's act with some fireworks as an apology. And so the show just decides on the spot that Trixie wants and deserves redemption and forgiveness right there. Twilight just thinks about it, like, alright, I can forgive you. And so Trixie closes us out with this hilarious one-liner. Don't you think the great and apologetic Trixie is the most magnificently humble pony you've ever seen? And so she does her smokescreen bit again, runs off into the night, and that's pretty much it. And I said in the last episode, that what I thought about bullying and the last episode's take on it, how I just didn't think it was condonable. And this episode, unfortunately, kind of takes it to the next level by... I'm just messing with you. I don't want to go down that road again. Hopefully I won't have to. I'm pretty sure that was just, I never say never. It seemed like a one-time thing. If this episode actually does try to address bullying again, which I think at least one person said it kind of does, well, we'll see how that happens, but no, that's a different set of circumstances, and of course, it crossed my mind that somebody might say that, hey, this episode, there's bullying in it too, what do you think? But no, this is back to more, like I said in Trixie's last episode, actually, the rival that can do anything better than you plot line, which crossed with the sort of half the new challenger approaches plot line, and that's not really about ethics, that's just about the challenge. So, okay, and actually, the last one too, I thought that I was nervous about doing that. I knew I had to, but I figured I'd get at least a couple people riled, like, oh no man, I was bullied, and I think this episode told me exactly what I needed to hear, or and something like that, or I think this is exactly what kids should hear. But actually, everyone was really understanding about it, really calm and rational, and even the people who didn't agree with me were just, again, very reasonable, saying, like, okay, well, I mean, I appreciate the point of view, but I mean, I also think I agree with, or I support this episode somewhat because of this, so I mean, just very rational conversation, so, what can I say? You really are a wonderful audience, so thank you. But, okay, so, this episode, though, actually, Trixie's reappearance reminds me a lot of her first appearance, in that it has a lot of elements that I liked, and also a lot that, yeah, just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. That didn't seem like the best storytelling I'd ever seen, but, yeah, or I thought could have been so much better, but, yeah, that episode, though, Trixie's first episode, seemed to be more a matter of just the show still finding its footing and trying to see how it wanted to play notes like these, and I think it was off to an okay start there. I mean, that was one of the less successful early episodes, I remember thinking, but yeah, I think it brought back some of the same elements and did them better as the show went on, but I mean, I guess though, yeah, Trixie herself got sort of a fan following, so she needed to come back, and I think this time around the problem is, yeah, Trixie might be back a little too late, because now I think that the show is starting to, you know, instead of not being there yet, it seems to be, at least at this point, it seems to be sort of past its peak, and like I said, every episode except Too Many Pinkie Pies has now given me the implication, because I mean, yeah, now with this episode, that's 5 against 1 that have sort of started to seem like the show is, I don't know, going in. It does not quite have the same inspiration it once did. I mean, it seems like a little more cookie cutter, a little more, I don't know, smoothed over, not quite as just so loaded up with ideas that it wants to try out. Now it seems more like it wants to just go, like, look at what viewers typically want to see and just sort of go in that direction. And I mean, and well, actually, ironically though, the problem, these episodes, like I said, both her first appearance and her second, they remind me of each other, because I think both problems produce sort of similar results. And because, like I said, one, just the story, the way it's structured, I mean, just, it doesn't seem to know how to really deliver, like, really to get inside any of these characters' heads and sort of deliver something that feels right. I mean, because the Trixie thing, she's allowed to, like I said, just sort of beat down on the friends, like I said, the rival that can do anything better than you story. She just beating them down the whole time, and just, yeah, nobody comprehends that, yeah, you're technically allowed to, you know, hit back a little bit. Like Rarity, she puts you in a dress you don't like, you know, you have magic, you're allowed to take it off, but yeah, or, I don't know, it's like they just sort of take it on the chin, and yeah, of course, every time you attack somebody, they right away don't want any more, they don't want to give it back to you, they just want to be like, okay, you win, but, yeah, there's that, and then Trixie's arc too. I mean, they seemed like they were sort of the whole time trying to say that, well, no, she wasn't that bad before. She was fine. It just, even though she kind of assaulted a couple of the friends to prove she was better than them, but yeah, like now she's bad. Before she was fine. So, I mean, of course, we all want to see her officially make nice with the group at the end. But I mean, we don't see her perspective at all. She's just beating them down and loving them. In fact, she takes off the amulet, and after it's off, she tries to zap Rainbow Dash with a pain-inducing spell. So, I mean, I don't know. I didn't see any implication that Trixie has a good side. I mean, and then at the end, it just tells us she does. But if you say so. But so yeah, there's that. Just not very satisfying as far as the interactions with Trixie are concerned, and then the way the story folds, like getting you behind stuff. I mean, it checks off notes, like Twilight, she has to be doing something while she's in exile, so why not train with Zecora? And even better, why not reference Star Wars, which I appreciated that. I mean, the exercises she does with Sakura themselves, they pretty cool to watch. Well, just one we see where she's on top of a pond and she has to use her magic to keep herself afloat, closing her eyes, and then she's levitating orbs of water around her head. So I mean, that was kind of fun, everything like that. But I mean, it has nothing to do with anything. They don't even tie back like even a little thing she learned from any of those into the episode. They just say at the end, like, okay, you've mastered all of Sakura's lessons, but since she has the Alicorn amulet, you can't beat that. And then Sakura just gives her a completely different bit of advice that they say at the last of her lessons. And I mean, she could have said that to start with. Use your friends to help you out. So, okay, so I mean, yeah, like, I mean, some people, I know that, of course, we all want the Star Wars reference to be there. We all want to see Twilight training with Sakura, but I mean, realistically here, they didn't tie it in. It had nothing to do with anything, so I mean, and then the other thing, kind of a more subtle problem that I actually think speaks to what seems to be kind of the problem with Season 3 so far, like with the exception of Too Many Pinkie Pies, but yeah, that's one episode against, four, one episode against four, they all just sort of seem to be, well, one sort of a little more cookie cutter, but I mean, specifically what I'm talking about here is that the solution, we see that when Twilight defeats Trixie, outsmarts her by using her friends to help with magic tricks, okay, what they say at the end, what they want to be the big payoff, the big moral here, is that the magic of friendship saved the day. That's one thing. Okay, but the thing, it tells us that, it only really shows us it in passing. Like, we don't see everybody coming together to plan these tricks, and I mean, figure out how they're gonna outsmart Trixie, and maybe, I don't know, that they realize they're sort of putting themselves at risk for one another. It's just like, and I mean, of course, I guess the show technically didn't want us to know ahead of time, but however they would have tied that in. The thing is, again, it only shows us in flashback, in passing. It doesn't try to get us behind that notion. It just tells us. It just assures us that, yeah, see, that's because friendship is magic. And I mean, again, the basic rule here is show, don't tell, and that's what the show has been really good at so far. It kind of seemed to be a pretty genuine sort of set of circumstances, we say. It was sort of, it almost seemed like it was really into the characters' perspectives and just, what they would do in this kind of situation. And this time it seems to be more just like checking off things we'd like to see, and then, or what it would like to accomplish, that, the friends come together to pull off magic tricks and outsmart Trixie, but I mean, because friendship is magic, but I mean, for one, okay, well, you have to kind of show us how that means that friendship is magic, like what, all the way back at the very first two-parter, Friendship is Magic, Part 2, and even though it made its own rules for this one, how the elements of harmony work, it showed us quite clearly how everyone's talents are one, or everyone has a special talent that's related to an element of harmony. They show that in action. They show how that contributes to friendship, how everyone enjoys that from one another. And I mean, so when they get to the end and the elements of harmony are what saved the day, okay, we know exactly why, and we know exactly how friendship ties into that. And I mean, like I said, here it's just, I mean, it didn't have to say that it was the magic of friendship. It could have just been like, hooray, we beat Trixie, but okay, again, it wants to make that point, and it tries to make it just by telling us and then only showing us in passing. So, I mean, and that seems to sort of tie back to what has been, loosely tie back at least to what's been the problem with the with the other 3 episodes, or should I say, 4 that had this problem, 1 that didn't. The last one, it told us that telling an adult will solve your bullying problem, but okay, it didn't really show us, I think, a very genuine reaction from the Cutie Mark Crusaders. I mean, I think it just sort of turned them into sad sack submissives, and, well, you all heard my problem with that. And then back to the Crystal Empire parts 1 and 2. They were still pretty good episodes, like I said, but it seemed like a weakness was that it didn't show us Twilight, a full range of Twilight's reactions in the spotlight. It was a lot more methodical, and I mean, it told us that she was really worried about this test, but I mean, for the most part, it's just treated like a test. And, you know, there's the sacrifice at the end there, which, okay, we get a little bit of her reactions there, how that actually exploring her character there, but yeah, otherwise, it's just telling us that, yeah, this is so big and weighty for her, but okay, but I mean, I don't know, that's just sort of the vibe I'm getting from Season 3 now, that, okay, yeah, it's going through the motions a little more cookie cutter, a little more, yeah, a little more, thinking of something ahead of time, like the points it wants to hit, and then just sort of throwing the characters in, and I mean, you just using them enough to fit the bill instead of thinking like, okay, well, what would Twilight Sparkle do in this situation exactly, and what would the Cutie Mark Crusaders do exactly? Okay, so you get it. And I mean, that could mean a lot of things, you know, that doesn't mean that the show's out yet. I mean, for all I know, it could be, but it could also not be. You know, maybe this is just a little slow spot while the show takes its time to find its footing. I mean, there have been slow spots before, and I didn't think they had this problem exactly, but, you know, again, sometimes you fall out of whack a little bit, and you just need a minute to take a breather and work your way back to the top. So, we'll see. Either way. But, okay, that all said, I still think I actually prefer this episode to Trixie's first appearance, because, yeah, if nothing else, it's better. It's the better one of the two of giving you what you want to see. And, you know, we finally get the throwdown between Trixie and Twilight, and even though it's kind of a fight with padded gloves that, you know, you're just supposed to show off better than the other one, you know, it's still creative animation, it's still kind of fun to see, so, I mean, you know, that was a lot of fun. Trixie this time, I mean, I guess the first episode, you know, it was just trying to create a show-off, and it, incidentally did enough right that I guess the fan base responded to her, so, I mean, this episode, because I didn't get that at all from her in the first time. This time, I did sort of start to get into her sort of weirdness, her eccentricity a little bit, and enjoy it, like that part where she has Snips and Snails pulling her chariot all over the place, and it's just a couple of flat carts, so she changes them, but yeah, they just have to drag it through the dirt. But wouldn't it be faster if we had some wheels? The great and powerful Trixie doesn't trust wheels. Like, what are you doing? That's, yeah, it's like a hilarious non sequitur almost, so, okay, yeah, I did sort of start to see what there is to enjoy about Trixie this time around. I mean, still didn't give me the, epic, yeah, defeat of her that I really would have liked to see, and then instead the rushed, redemption, but, okay, even so. Okay, so it was that, the solution was pretty creative. I mean, even though it tried to throw in the friendship is magic moral, they tried to tie it into the friendship is magic moral when it didn't know how to back it up. Just the solution itself was a lot of fun and pretty creative, and I mean, yeah, so that was clever at least, and, okay. And best of all, like, even though the friends, they still are pretty good at taking it on the chin from Trixie, and yes, Trixie's the only one that I think has gotten everyone to just sort of submit like this, but without like really making you believe it all the way. But even so, I did like that this time the friends do sort of work against Trixie, like and you know, again, even if, well, regardless of what I just said, Trixie is too powerful for them this time. She has the Alicorn amulet, so they sort of work behind the scenes to defeat her. They use their brains, they explore Twilight's library, using their resources. They come together, they figure out what it'll take to bring her down. So, okay, I did like that. So, I mean, again, it knows what we want to see. It knows how to hit some of those notes. I just I don't think it's like the writers just aren't as invested in it and really don't know how to really make it really resonant and really hit home like some of the other ones have. But okay, even so, it may not have been satisfying in all its points, but It was still pretty enjoyable, I'd say. It was a decent one, so we'll say that. And okay, so the next one now is Sleepless in Ponyville, and I'll see you there.